We know that there are a ton of true crime podcasts out there. In fact, according to a study by Pew Research, true crimes make up nearly a quarter of the top-ranked podcasts in the country. Our first guest, Jack Vaneck and Alexis Linkletter, are getting a lot of attention for their unique approach to sharing these captivating true crime stories. Their podcast is called The First Degree. Every week, the two best friends unpack a new case, interviewing a guest that is 1 degree away from either the perpetrator, the victim, or the crime itself. Listener reviews say things like, I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, but you guys are by far my favorite, and I love the hosts and feel like we're all besties hanging out when I listen. I just like to hang out with my besties, not talk true crime, but if that's your thing, they got you. Check out this clip from one of their most listened to episodes. This one was called Surviving Peter Paul, in which their guest Jennifer tells I couldn't stop listening to it, how she escaped her dangerous relationship. Take a listen.
Jennifer knew she had to do something extreme to get away from Peter. She was fighting for more than just her life now.
I have to get away. I cannot bring my child into this world with this man around. I can't let him be around this baby. That's when my mom let me stay with her for a couple of nights.
Even though Jennifer was terrified, she concocted a plan.
And it was a bold one.
Wow. I mean, and trust me, I know as a true crime reporter for so many years, Deadline Crime, this is not easy work, but it's compelling. And they do it in such a thoughtful way. Welcome to the show, the hosts of First Degree, Jack Vaneck and Alexis Linkletter. Come on out. I gotta tell you, I played that clip, and I know sometimes the audience, we don't know how to react when you're hearing these stories, but you both approach this very difficult job of true crime reporting in a very sensitive way. Jack, we first had you on it back in, season 4 with the Lady Gang.
Oh, yeah.
Conversation very different. Look, you can tell from the walkout it was a different conversation. Now with First Degree, as I said, you really dig into this space. Why did you want to take it this direction?
Well, how we started the podcast, I was obviously on Lady Gang before. Yeah. Alexis and I have been best friends for over 15 years. Yeah. And she approached me in 2018 about starting a podcast, a true crime podcast, and about looking for a co-host. And I was like, I love true crime. Yeah. And I do a podcast.
Let's combine them.
Let's combine our forces.
But it's a different kind of storytelling, which we know, Alexis. The most popular episode that you had Denise Huskins and Aaron Quinn, who shared their story, American Nightmare. They were on our show as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this documentary, but it was just one of them. It would take this whole hour for me to explain it. But people dig in to these conversations. What makes a good true crime podcast?
Well, I think using Denise and Aaron as an example, I don't think there's anything more harrowing or terrifying than the idea of being taken from your home. Yeah.
And not believed.
And not being believed.
That's the heart of that story. They weren't believed.
And just taken from your safe place, then you're finally rescued. You think you're going to be received with open arms, and then the whole world turns on you. It's just a nightmare after nightmare.
Every woman's worst nightmare.
It is. And so both of you, the First Degree was inspired by connections each of you have to true crime. Alexis, Long Island, the Gilgo Beach serial killer.
Yeah.
Your connection to that story.
Right.
Because you said it's something that's deep in you. Why this story for you?
So I've been personally investigating this case through another podcast I do called Unraveled Long Island Serial Killer. And I've just been working on it for 10 years. I went to high school with the gentleman who basically broke the case open and stole a duffel bag from the chief of police's car, and it kind of blew the whole case up. So that's sort of when I got involved back in 2012.
I was on your podcast talking about my character, Jordan Manning, and it being inspired by real events that I covered. Are there any lines that you don't want to cross in this space?
We definitely stay away from any gratuitous talk through our podcast. We try to keep things very, very respectful, very victim-focused. And, we want to create like a safe space for our guests to come in and tell their story. So we really just want everybody to feel good and cathartic telling their story to us.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They trust you because your thing is that you're 1 degree away.
Yeah.
And especially when you're talking with a family member who's lost a loved one or someone who's experienced, as Jennifer in that particular case where she was trying to escape that dangerous relationship, that requires a level of sensitivity because you're not just talking to people, you're feeling their soul and they're trusting you.
Yeah.
That's a big responsibility.
It is.
So how do you process that?
So I just understand the need for such a bedside manner, and I kind of try to handhold our guests every step of the way. I talk to them before the interview to ask if there's anything they wouldn't like me to ask about. And in talking to them, I understand what's important to them.
Yeah.
That's why I always insist on us doing the interviews. We're never gonna hire another producer to do it because we need to know what's important to them and what's gonna trigger them or what's gonna hurt them.
Yeah.
And having that context prior to, producing the episode just helps us ensure that they're gonna love the end result, and they always do.
Well,
They're happy every
it was
time.
a pleasure being on. I mean, obviously, we talk about different things. On Lady Gang, we talk about some crazy stuff on that show. But this was very compelling. So thank you so much, and best of luck with this podcast. People love it. It's one of the ones you should be listening to. Jack and Alexis, you can listen to new episodes of The First Degree every Wednesday